Hello again and welcome to At Home Origami. For the month of April we're going to be making some colorful spring tulips. Now these origamis are a little bit unusual in that it's actually in two pieces. So there's a few more steps than usual, but I will say that nothing here is particularly difficult, at least in the scheme of origami. So in your kit, you'll find multiple colored pieces of paper, including green, yellow, and pink. And we're going to start by making the stem of the flower. As always, you have to begin by making your paper square. And there are instructions included in your kit for how to do that. One way is to overlap your paper perpendicular like that, like so, and then mark this line off right here, and then cut along that line with a pair of scissors. You can also fold over one corner and then mark that same line off here and then cut that. And that's my preferred method, but really either one works. So once you have your squares, we can begin working. I used the folding method, so my square already has a crease in the middle. But if you don't have a crease already, then the first thing you're going to do is fold it in half over like a book so that you wind up with a smaller triangle. Now you're going to open it back up, and the first thing we're going to do is fold down one side of this paper. We're going to bring it into that crease, and it's going to look kind of like the folds you might make if you're making a paper airplane to make the wings. And we're going to do that same thing on the other side. Make sure the creases line up as best as you can. They don't have to be perfect, but you do want to try and make them nice and straight and have a good point at the end. Just kind of guide the paper along as you smooth it out. So now you'll notice we have an upside down kite shape that's pointing away from us with the long end. The next step is to do the same thing, but on the short side. So you just fold these parts in, and it's going to turn this kite shape, once you do it on both sides, into more of an elongated diamond shape. And you want to make sure that these stay nice and flat. From here, we're going to actually do that step again on the side closest to us. And we're going to make it even longer and even pointier. And as you might be able to guess, this long edge is going to be the stem of the flower. And then you do it on both sides so that it matches. Now once you've done this, we're just going to flip the whole thing upside down. And from here you're going to find roughly the halfway point on this line. And now it's not these points, it's a little further down, probably right around here. And we're going to fold it in half. And we want the two tips to line up. So try and get that nicely smoothed down with the tips close to lined up. And then, once that's done, we can fold the whole thing in half. Now the last step here is to expose the leaf of the stem. So we folded the whole thing in half. We're going to let it open back up again, and then we're going to fold it down the outer flap, not the long, thin, pointy flap, the big, wide outer flap. And as you do, you're going to want to kind of hold it in place, kind of halfway out like this, and then just bring this leaf down. And as you fold it, you want to squeeze where it reaches the stem. And that will have it pointing out to the side as you crease it down. So I'll show you that again. We start like this. We take the wide flap and we pull it down so that it's going away from the pointy flap. And as you do that, you want to squeeze in the middle, right where it meets, so that you can give it a leaf. And this is our stem, and this stem will stand up, and we're going to balance the flower head on it once we make the flower. So I'm going to be making a yellow flower here. So I've got the yellow, and just like with the stem, I used the folding method to get the square paper. So because I used the folding method, I had this diagonal line. That is an important step later on in this process, but it's not the first step. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip this paper upside down so that it's kind of tinting upward from that fold, and I'm going to smooth it out as much as I can. And now we're going to fold it in half, hot dog style. So you want these edges to line up as much as possible. And if they don't quite line up at the beginning, you can adjust them as you go. And then we're going to open it back up, turn it, and do the same thing again so that it's going across. And again, make sure that you get these as lined up as possible. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you do want accuracy. Once we have that back open, we can flip it back over again. And this time, we've already done this step. So if you've already got this crease like I do, don't do this step again. But if you don't, what you do is you just fold it over. So you get a triangle with these creases on it. When you open that back up, you'll turn it and do the same thing again, so that we've basically folded it both ways twice. Now, when we flip this upside down, you'll notice that it makes a star shape. And you can pinch both sides of these star and then push them in at the same time. And you wind up with, you can lay that flat. And once you've laid it flat, you're going to want to pick up one flap from this. You'll have two flaps on either side. And you want to pick up one. So you take the far corner, and we're going to bring it up to the top edge. Just like so. And then you'll do the same thing on the other side. So you bring the far corner up to the top edge. So now you've got a square sitting on your triangle. And we'll flip it over. And do the same thing on this side. And then on the other. So now what we've wound up with here kind of looks like a little square, but it's got all kinds of layers of flaps on it. So we're going to pick this up, and we're going to turn one of these flaps over to the left like a page of a book. And then once we've done that, we turn this whole thing over again, and we'll take one flap and turn it to the left like pages of a book, and you should wind up with a flat solid square on both sides. So now here's the tricky part. What we're going to do is we're going to tuck the top two flaps into each other, and you'll see that they have spaces for this here. So you're going to want to kind of open up the one on your left, and then you just kind of got to wiggle the one on the right. It might be difficult, so you got to really push on it. And then as you do, you want to smooth it down. Now it's going to be a little bit lopsided, so it's not going to line up perfectly here. And once you've done that, we can flip it over and do the same thing on the other side. So we open up one flap on one side, and then we're going to tuck the other flap into it. And then press it flat. Now once you've done that, you've got this really kind of lopsided looking thing here. And the next step is another strange one. So you'll find that it kind of wants to open up a little bit like an accordion. So we want to open it up a little bit, and it'll reveal that there is a tiny little hole right here on the end. I don't know if you can see that here in the video, but there is a tiny hole there. And we're going to be inflating this thing like a balloon. So you just need to blow in this tiny little hole. And it can be easier to do if you open it up a little bit with your fingers. You could also poke a pencil down inside of it. And once you've done that, you just blow on it. And it'll start to inflate, and then you just keep blowing until it fills up like a balloon. And if one of your flaps comes undone while you do that, that's okay. You can just tuck it back in and continue as you were. So there we go. So now it is round enough that we can use it as a flower. And what we need to do now is we need to look at these 4 flaps, and we're going to kind of roll them down. These are going to make the petals. So each one, you just kind of want to roll it down. Until you've done all 4. Once you've done all 4, you'll see that we have a flower. And the last step, of course, is to take the pointy end of our flower stem. We're going to just kind of put it in the hole that we use to inflate it. And once you get it on, you want to let the flower kind of tip in the opposite direction of the leaf so that it balances out. That way, it'll stand up on its own. And there we have it, an origami tulip. You can do them in both colors or any color, or really however you like. And we hope you'll join us again next month for our next at-home origami. And these kits are available in used services while supplies last. So hope everyone has a good day and enjoy. Bye.